How's it going, guys? We are live. So this is just going to be a quick Q&A, literally 1 hour, very short today. As usual, I don't announce basically always when I do these live Q&As. So I'll just wait until you guys trickle in, and then we'll do some Q&A. Probably be hitting the US time zones as normal. If you guys are entering the chat, you can just drop your Q&As in the live chat there on the right. Yeah, if you're entering the chat, just drop your Q&As on the right there. We'll just do a quick office hour here. Any USMLE questions you have, just drop them in the chat there. What are you guys up to? What are you guys doing? It is 2:27 a.m. here. If you have questions, drop them. If you're in the chat, just drop your question right there. We can just get things started. Otherwise, yeah, guys, just drop your questions on the drop your questions. If you're first here, drop your questions and give the video a like, give the live chat a like so that it can help kick the algorithm up, bring people here. And drop your USMLE questions in the chat there. If you have any. If you don't have any, then what are we going to do? We're not going to do a live chat here. Okay, Brandon Lee. So, hey, Melman got a 31, or 31, what the fuck am I saying? NBME 31 got a 66%. NBME 30 got a 68%. 20 and 29, 71%. Do you think I can go for the exam this week? Have 4 days left. Thanks for your response. Well, 66% is borderline on 31. Your 68%, 71% on 2029. Your borderline. What I want you to do is convert those to 3-digit scores. Okay, that's what I want you to do. So what I want you to do is you're going to open another tab, Brandon. You're going to go to Google Images, not Google Images. And you're going to type in NBME 28 score conversion Reddit. And you're going to type in, you're going to see graphs, best fit lines, right? So you're going to type in the number of wrongs into that equation. You're going to get a 3-digit score. You're going to do that for all the NBMEs you sat. So you're going to convert your two-digit percentages, right, into 3-digit scores. 197 is internal pass mark. I want 205, 210 plus on those forms. The reason we do that cumbersomely as far as convert the 2-digit percentages into 3-digit scores is because the scales are different for each of the NBMEs. So like a 68% on 30 is different from, let's say, a 68% NBME 31. So I want 205, 210 plus on those forms. I think your scores are decent, but just for like OCD clarity's sake, I want that. Guys, give the video a like so the algorithm will kick up and we'll get more people here. PHV proxy, Mike, I'm starting from NBME 1. Is it a good idea if I'm 18 months away from my exam? You don't have to do NBME 1, okay? Obviously, you're just going to start on Qbank. That's what you're going to do. If you're literally 18 months out, that's a troll, right? So you're just going to start on Qbank at this point, knock out lots of questions from normal UWorld/Amboss, right? And like USMLE prep is very far away for you at this point. Just get a foundation in Qbank. Mira Kutab says, hey, Mike, can you please guide me on how to get better on ECGs and heart murmurs? Yeah, I've said that for ECGs, just go through my cardio PDF, right? So the new cardio PDF is loaded with ECGs. You guys have to bear in mind that, my content, I update it sometimes. So occasionally what people do is they pass my PDFs around, which is great. Okay, I'm flattered, but occasionally someone uses an outdated version of the PDF. So just make sure that, because they're loaded, my cardio PDF loaded with ECGs. Okay, so that's going to really be good for you. All the ECGs, all the murmurs, every little high yield point, the cardio PDF, very fucking ace. Usman Mahmood says, hey, Dr. Mike, to what extent I need to, guys, give the video a like so that it kicks the algorithm up for people that come here. Usman Mahmood says, hey, Dr. Mike, to what extent I need to memorize the NVMEs? Hardcore. I've said that the way you're going to go through the NVMEs is you are going to So when you finish UWorld, right, you're going to come out, you're going to do NBMEs 20 and 21 initially. And if you're going to get your 3-digit score conversions, so you get your percentage, it's usually above 60% is what I want to see. But you're going to get your 3-digit score conversion on 20 and 21. As I responded to Brandon a moment ago, you're going to type into Google Images, NBME 20 score conversion Reddit, NBME 21 score conversion Reddit, and you'll get a graph. So you're going to get your 3-digit score conversion. 197 is internal mark for pass for step 1, okay? So for 20 and 21, I am okay with you failing not that bad, meaning if you get a 190 to 196, like sort of a minor fail, I'll have you continue on to NVME 22, okay? But from NVME 22 onward, I want you to have a 197 and above. If you don't, then I will pull you out of the NBMEs and you're going to go back to Qbank and corrects, okay? But in terms of your question more head on, where you asked to what extent I need to memorize the NBMEs, I've said I want you making Anki cards of your incorrects. That's what I want you doing. So this is what's going to go down. You're going to make 2 Anki decks. You're going to make 1 Anki deck for 20 through 24 and free 120. You're going to make a second Anki deck for 25 through 31. This is what's going to happen. You're going to do NBME 20. You're going to screenshot all your incorrects. Let's say you get 70 wrong out of 200. Okay. So you're going to screenshot your 70 wrong from NBME 20 into the Anki deck. And you're not going to be screenshotting the unanswered questions because you have, like in our Telegram group, right? We've got, if you search in our group files, there's the NVMEs there. So you got the question PDFs, you got the answer PDFs. I want you screenshotting the answer PDFs, the answered questions. So you get 70 wrong. You're literally going to screenshot the already fucking highlighted question where it says the answer is D. You're going to screenshot that into the front card of the Anki. And then the back card can be blank or it can be just D again. I don't want you writing explanations. So you're going to do that for NBME 20, okay? All 70, you do it over 2 days, the review of NBME 20. So you do all 4 blocks on the first day. You start the review of NBME 20, maybe you're only able to review half of it. The review spills into the second day. You finish the review of NBME 20, and all those incorrects are going to be screenshotted into the Anki, as I said. Okay. Now you go on to NBME 21, the third day in the sequence. You're going to do the same exact thing. So let's say you get 70 wrong on NBME 21. You're going to screenshot those into the same Anki deck as 20. So you finish the review of 20. Maybe you get through half the review of 21 the first day. Second day, you finish the review of NBME 21, all 200 questions. And after you're done with the review of 21, you're going to redo the incorrects that you just fucking did from 20 2 days ago. Okay. Now you go on to NBME 22 and you repeat this. So the incorrects go into the same deck as 2021. The second day of the review of 22, you're going to redo after you finish all of 22. Okay, all 200 questions reviewing, you're going to go through the incorrects again from 2021. Okay, this pattern isn't dramatic, but there's some students who don't grasp it. Okay, so I'll just fast forward. So now we're going to do NBME 24. When you finish the review, you're going to redo all the fucking incorrects from 20, 21, 22, 23. You finish free 120. I only do 1 day for free 120, not 2. Then you're going to redo all the incorrects from 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So you're literally redoing the incorrects repeatedly from the NVME exams. All right. So 20 through 24 and free 120, I bracket into one Anki deck. After you finish the review of all those exams, then I generally will put like 3 days where, let's say the next day, you can do forms 20 and 21 back to back, all 400 questions as though you've never done those tests before. So no Anki. Okay. So you do all 400 questions back to back. Student says, really? That's a lot. Well, not really, because if let's say you had 70 wrong on each form, well, that's 140 out of 400 that you've already fucking reviewed repeatedly over the past several days. So those are instant answers. And then the 260 out of 400 remaining, well, you got them right the first time. So you're still going to get questions wrong. But you're going to do 20, 21 back to back with no break, or not back to back, no break, back to back, no Anki. The next day, 22, 23, back-to-back, no Anki. The third day, 24, free 120, back-to-back, no Anki. Okay, so those are the 3 review consolidation days of 20 through 24, free 120. Now, you're going to go into the next day where we start NBME 25. The door forever closes on 20 through 24 and free 120, and you're never looking at those forms again for the rest of your entire life. So now we make a second brand new fresh Anki deck for 25 through 31, and this process repeats. So for example, You finish review of NBME 27, screenshot those incorrects into the same deck as 25, 26. You're going to redo those incorrects from 25, 26. You finish NBME 30, screenshot those incorrects into the previous deck. You're going to redo the incorrects from 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Okay. And then when you finish ultimately NBME 31, I give 4 days. So you're going to have 1 day where you do 25, 26 back to back. Second day, 27, 28 back to back. Third day, 28, 29 back to back. Or sorry, 29, 30 back to back. Fourth day, 31 on its own. Okay. And then we could have a biostats day. Then we could have a custom review / chill day. Then we could have the real USMLE after that. That's about a month and 4 days. That's an example. Never cookie cutter for every student. That is a mere example of how we could execute a final plan where you're memorizing the NBMEs, and that is going to really ingrain that information so that you pass. Okay, like people will do the NBME exams, but not actually like memorize the questions. Like they'll sit one of the forms, they'll get their score, and then it sort of just like ends there. So we need to make sure you actually like memorize the NBMEs. Okay, so what I just gave you is like pretty comprehensive as far as like, you know, to give you an idea, like you have to fucking know the NBME exams. RIP says, Dr. Mike, I'm doing CMS Forms, just finished, second pass. If you're joining the chat, guys, give the live stream a like so that we can kick up the algorithm, bring more people here. Dr. Mike, I'm doing CMS Forms, just finished the second pass. I have a month till my exam. I want to increase my score as much as possible. Do I do a third pass before free 120? The answer is no. So for the CMS Forms, I've said that for 2CK, there's you're either post-grad or you're on rotations. If you're post-grad, it's very linear and clean and easy. So you're going to do all of Amboss or UWorld. Then you're going to do a single pass of all the CMS Forms. There's 50-ish forms. You're going to do 2 per day. It'll take you 3 to 3.5 weeks. And then you're going to do NBME 6 through 8. Then you're going to do your double pass of all the CMS Forms. Then you're going to do free 120. Then you're going to do 9 through 14. Holy shit. Okay, so I haven't had any students sit 14, but apparently NBME, rumor has it NBME 14 is out. Okay, so 13 is out, but holy shit, NBME 14, word has it that it's out. Okay, so you're going to end on 9 through 14. If you're on rotations, of course, you're going to be knocking all that stuff out subject specific. You'll do, let's say you're on pediatrics, you'll do all the Qbank questions from Amboss or UWorld for peds, and then you're going to do 2 passes of the CMS forms for pediatrics. There's 8 forms, so you'll do all 8 of those forms twice. You're going to do my pediatrics PDF. You'll do my pediatrics playlist on the YouTube, Neil's MCQs. Okay, that's how you'll honors or high pass your pediatrics shove. Let's see. PHV Proxy says, how much should I aim from NBME 1? And I don't know what you're asking. Georgie Jamburia says, hey, how can I convert NBME 31 to a 3-digit score? Good question. If you can't find it, Georgie, you can just use the NBME 30 scale. It's not a crisis, okay? NBME 31 might be the odd one out where, like, because it's new, you're correct that there might not be a graph for that one. You can use the NBME 30 scale. I'm not fussed, okay? Like they're close enough, like plus or minus like 3 points like per NBME in terms of like how the scores convert over. Niran Sabi says, hey, I've done first round of revision, but I'm always scared to take NBME. I feel like I've gotten something and I need to revise again. Should I blindly go for NBME? I have done UWorld 1 round. You're scared to take NBME. I mean, I've said, guys, when you finish Qbank, like the first thing you're going to do is NBME 20. And then you're going to want a 21. Okay, that's what you need to do for step 2. You're going to go on to the CMS forms. But when you sit NBME 20, I've said generally, if you're over 60%, you can move on to NBME 21. If you're under 60%, you absolutely go back to Qbank and corrects. But preferentially, I like people converting the 3-digit scores. Okay, as I fucking repeatedly said. So I'm okay with you getting a 190 to 196, which is a mild fail on 20 and 21. And if you can break 190 on NVMEs 20 and 21, you can go to NVME 22. But once you hit NVME 22, I mandate that you get a 197 plus, which is the internal pass mark for step 1. And then ultimately we want 205 to 210 plus. When the student gets to like NBMEs 27, 28, like when we creep into the latter NBMEs, I want to see the 205 to 210 plus. If you're getting like 200 and we're at NBME 28, I'm like, nah, you're going to go back to UWorld for incorrects. You're going to do like all the incorrects for like a month. I normally, like when I discuss like altering trajectories to student schedules, I will often like incentivize the student to score higher, like to focus and make sure they're really fucking doing everything well by altering their trajectory in a way that they don't want. So for example, you got like your exam coming up, you want to get it fucking over with. You're like, can't wait to be done with this step already. And I'm like, if you don't get X score, if you don't like get 205, 210 plus on NBME 28, then we're going to be taking an entire extra like month, okay, month to go through like incorrects from UWorld. So get a fucking like and the student doesn't like that. I'm like, okay, I agree with you. I'm happy for you to sit, in 2 weeks also, but you got to fucking get it to a 5, 210 plus then. So as you move through the NBMEs, the bar gets higher and higher. And I don't want people YOLOing into the real USMLE, meaning I don't want you getting like 199. You get like a 196, a 199, a 201. I don't like that. Okay. I want a buffer. I want a 205, 210 plus, at least 3 NBMEs for you to sit. And then for step 2, of course, 214 pass mark, 220 plus is what I look for. Person with a shitload of Arabic that I can't read. Hi, Dr. Mike. I have a question. Does the actual exam harder than UWorld NBME? I think you asked the same fucking question in my last live stream, and I answered it, which tells me that you asked the question and then you fucking bounced from my live stream because maybe I was going through other people's questions and you bounced before I answered it. But I answered the same fucking question, I believe, yesterday. And my response, or 2 days ago, and my response to you was the real USMLE is the NBME. They're the same, okay, not UWorld. But I think UWorld is harder than the NBME and the USMLE. UWorld plays gotcha. Okay, UWorld plays gotcha more than the NBME does. So I think UWorld is harder than the NBME exam and the real USMLE. Let's see. Shabab Chowdhury, an 8-month-old previously, what am I, fucking chat GPT here? Like an 8-month-old previously healthy infant is brought to the urgent care clinic due to vomiting and watery diarrhea for the past 3 days. He attends a daycare where recently other children had, what the fuck are you asking me? I mean, you want rotavirus? Like, what do you want me to say to you right now? Unvaccinated, maybe 8-month-old rotavirus. I mean, watery diarrhea, it's high yield could be Norwalk virus as well, occasionally. Okay, occasionally. If they tell you vaccinated, it could be Norwalk, or if other people have been affected. If adults had it in particular, anyone over the age of 5, Norwalk virus. But rotavirus is the one you want to be thinking about in pediatrics. David Aminov says, hello, yesterday I wrote about 8 months to take till step 1. I'm a 5th year student, not second. I can take the step 1 anytime. Do you think that it's possible by 8 months? 8 months is a long fucking time. You got to just be on Qbank. Someone asked, literally started this chat, they have 18 months remaining. You're going to go through Qbank at this point. Go through fucking Qbank first, and then we can talk, okay? You're like very far off from your exam. Carson, last month, should I read your PDF or just read Anki NBME? You're going to do both. I mean, as I articulated maybe like 10 minutes ago, about how to go through like Anki with the NBME. You're going to do that in the final month, and then you can read my PDFs in the evenings if you can make time for them. Mustafa, you're a full-time streamer now? Not really. I mean, I'm not labeling this shit. That's funny. I'm not labeling this shit. Like, I can get on a live stream like this, and then maybe I won't do one for like 3 weeks. Who knows? Okay. I don't, if I label a frequency and tell you guys I'm going to be on it every fucking day at this time, that kills it for me too. I like keeping things very casual. PHP proxy, Mike, I'm in 2nd year med school, almost halfway. What would be my daily basis, my daily goals? Also, I will start my dedicated study from next year. If you're in 2nd year med, I mean, you need to be knocking out Qbank. This isn't dramatic. Okay. You're going to be knocking out Qbank. Guys, if you're joining the chat, give the live stream a like. Really appreciate it. If you give the video a like, then it'll bring more people here. The algorithm will kick it up. You want to see something cool? You like that? You fucking like this shit? You like that? Um, if you want this stuff, if you go to my actual the actual website, Melman Medical, there's an icon. There's a basketball social icon that many of you probably haven't even noticed. You have like the Instagram, the YouTube, right? The different icons. There's a little basketball, and there's like iPhone covers. There's you get a mug. This is a chocolate honey flavored tea, but there's no sugar in it. Let's see. What is the deal, Shabab? Like, this is the second question on diarrhea. How does diarrhea in children affect hematocrit? Albumin, uric acid, etc. Like, please. Let me see. And I lost the question because the chat moved on me as I started reading that. Let me see. Scrolling back up. JM124 says, "Hey Melman, in rotations currently, should I finish all the UWorld questions for that shelf?" The answer is yes. If I do that, what should I do during dedicated for step 2? You're going to be doing the clinical mastery series again, literally. Okay. And all the NBME exams. So that being said, it could end up being a third pass of all the CMS forms while you're in dedicated, which is fine. Okay. It's totally fine. Students who are doing linear postgrad, I have them just do 2 passes. Most students, by the way, they'll often tell me that they've done 1 pass the CMS forms while on rotations, not 2 passes. And then when they get to dedicated, that is their second pass. But I've articulated that I want you for each shelf doing 2 passes of the CMS forms. And therefore, ultimately, when you get to dedicated, you'll do a third pass. Okay. Well, I mean, you'll score high in 2CK. That's what's going to happen. Okay. And then, of course, NVME 6 through 13 with free 120 prior to NVME 9 or NVME 14. Okay. As I said, it may have just come out this week. So 13, but probably 14 as well, you're going to do. Fatima Rahman says, "Advice on completing blocks on time. I'm falling short of time and burning out during NBMEs. I'm worried for the real deal." You got to handle it. Okay. Like, so the NBMEs aren't Qbank, right? So if you're having trouble getting through Qbank timed, yeah, I mean, we have the timer there. And I've told you, like, for long stems, you got to go backwards. Okay. So for the NBME exams, if you're falling short on time, it means that it's a combination of, you have to have an internal clock in place where you have accountability. Like, if you're on a question, you say, I've been doing this for I've been on this question for at least like a minute and I'm not making progress right now. You have to just like have accountability and flag it and come back to it. Okay. You flag it and move on. You got to just have that accountability and not hover on a fucking question for like 4 minutes. You can't do that. But also, you got to have the strategy of going backwards through long questions. I've said this. You glance at the answer choices. Is it a what's the next best step in diagnosis, or what's the diagnosis? Is it an organism? Okay, like, what is it, a mechanism of action? Like, what is it that they're asking? And you look at the last line. Sometimes you get a big fucking paragraph, all these lab values, and then the last fucking line, they say like anti-Jo1 antibodies. And then the answer is just polymyositis, dermatomyositis. And meanwhile, you got the student reading at the top and they're wasting time. So, always glance at like the last couple lines, glance up at the lab values. Is there BU endocrinine ratio? Is there sodium, potassium, pH bicarbonate? Right. So is there calcium, phosphate? Like, what do you have there? Glance up the paragraph, kind of like a wordless collage, glance around if there's keywords that jump out. And then if you still can't get the answer, you can start from the beginning. Okay. I've made lots of clips talking about going through long question stems. But the notion of going backwards through questions, that's actually what's going to enhance your ability to be better with timing. Giovanni. Hey, Mike, I'm about a month out for my exam and I'm almost done with AMBOSS. I was planning on going through UWorld. Should I ignore UWorld and just do NBMEs only? Correct. Yes, you're not going to, and you've been in quite a few of my live streams already. So you are aware that the NBMEs are how you're going to end. You're not ending on Qbank. Bad fucking idea. Muskin MGN says, "Hey, Mike, step 1 in October. When should I start the NBMEs?" About a month and 4 days out from your exam. I've said this. Okay. So if your exam is October 15th, let's start you September 11th ish on the NBME exams. Shabab. Okay. So you have a question that's not about diarrhea this time. Okay. Second multiple comments on pediatric diarrhea. But it's the first one where you're actually like asking me about NBMEs. No, you're asking me about the match. What are the chances of matching with a fail? Does year gap with home country residency make a difference if I'm aiming for family medicine? The gap doesn't matter. No one gives a fuck if you take a gap in terms of your prep or anything like that. Like students worry that like if they have a leave of absence, that's gonna like harm them in terms of their matching for residency. People don't give a fuck. They're just gonna look at your scores. Like real life happens. You don't even have to like explain it. Like they're literally just gonna get a student, and like to them, everyone's just like people don't even have names. It's very like my guess is it's very like robotic and impersonal. They don't give a fuck who you are. You're gonna be like person X, and they're just gonna be like, here's your scores, and then they're like, does the person have like a class rank? Does the person have like research if it's a higher institution, right? So there's certain things that they'll look at, and then once they grant you an interview, then you become a person to them. They don't give a fuck if you took a gap year. Threezaz Marad says, is GPA important? Class rank, I'd imagine, is important. GPA is bullshit because some schools inflate, some schools deflate. But what matters ultimately is class rank. It's fucking stupid. Some people aren't the best at school, but they're good at tests, right? So that can be annoying. That's all separate discussion. Like that's kind of before step one went to pass fail, that was an advantage people had if they were like mediocre at school, but they were good at tests. Like you could be like, average in school, but you could get a high score on the step one, and that was able to like, put you in a good spot. Now people got to fucking deal with bullshit, fastidious preclinical requirements and try to get a high class rank or whatever. Kind of sucks, but I mean, it's the reality of the situation right now. So you got to knock step two out of the park, and you got to get a decent class rank if you want a higher institution. Mojal for your matching. Mojal says, you recommend use of Anki for random stuff with Qbank, like 3,000 cards just to review? No, I've said repeatedly, I don't want you guys doing Anki for Qbank. The only time you're going to do Anki is for your NBME memorization. Mahmoud Faruqi says, and by the way, welcome back to the live chat. I've seen your name here quite a bit. Hey, Mike, can we do 2 NBMEs in a day for CK? Absolutely not. Or keep it to just once per day. I'd say once every 2 days. Like when I make people's schedules, I generally have like 1 NBME per every 2 days. Soman Avizov. Hey, Mike, how do you find time for all this stuff like UWorld, free PDFs, especially your highlight arrows? Arrows PDF is something unreal cool! Exclamation point. I mean, you got to just fucking make the time, right? Like, I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Like, just create the time. Like, studying for STEP is, it's a full-time job. So, you got to create the time. I'm distracted by the next comment, which is do a biceps flex. Sabi Manur Bolok says, doctor, I need help. I'm about to postpone exam as my NBME score is 190. I've said, guys, if you're joining the chat, I've said a 197 is an internal pass mark for step one at the moment. So Manur says, you're about to postpone because your NBME is 190. How many more NBMEs to access or to assess myself, you're asking? You need to do all the fucking NBMEs. But I would say, I've said if you get a 190 to 196 and NBME 20, you can proceed to NBME 21. If you get a 190 to 196 and NBME 21, you can proceed to NBME 22, but you must get a 197 or higher on 22. And by the time you get to, as I said, it's more subjective later on for me, the way I do it. But as you get to like maybe NBMEs 27, 28, if you're not getting 205, 210 plus, I'll pull you out of the NBMEs and I'll have you do like a month of Qbank. I've already said that students don't like that. They're like, no way, Michael, I don't want to do that. I'm like, cool, then fucking get to a 5, 2, 10 plus. And I mean, it's 27 onward and we don't have to do that, right? I say, I don't want to do that either. So great, get it to a 5. And maybe 28, do it. And then you don't have to postpone a whole month. So there's no half pregnant postponement. In other words, I never would have a student postpone for like 2 weeks or like a week or something. Like I never do that. It's either like a whole fucking month or nothing or 0. Okay. So that's what's going to go down. Strong MD. Once we finish rotations, then what for studying step two? Um, well, that would mean you're in dedicated, wouldn't it? If you're done with rotations, right? So you'd be in dedicated. You can do the CMS forms again. You're asking me in your next comment here. Double pass of full NBMEs, then sit 2CK. Yeah, you're gonna do, depending on how long your dedicated is, you're gonna do another pass of all the CMS forms. You're gonna do NBME 6 through 8, free 120, then 9 through 14. Manur Balok, NVME 30 was 190. I postponed my exam. How long will it take to improve score above 200? I need help. Well, you're going to postpone at least a month. That's what I would say. I'd have to sit down with you. This is like what I do. Like I'm an expert at sitting down with people, discussing their custom situation and coming up with a day by day plan. So you know exactly what you need to fucking do without wasting your time, right? So in your situation though, when you say how long to get a score above 200, I would be, if you have 190 and 30, which is clearly unacceptable. We're looking at maybe a six week, at least 6 weeks to 2 months postponement. And some students say, wait, really? That's like a long time. Well, I like my students fucking passing. Isn't that a good idea? So I want a buffer. Okay. So I would say you got to go about another month at least of Qbank incorrects. If you finish the whole thing already, you got to do another month of Qbank. Then you're going to do NBME 20. I don't know why you touched 30 out of nowhere. I don't know if you sat other NBME exams, but I would start you back on the lowest number NBME from 20 to 31. You start on the lowest number you haven't done, and I'd assess you at that point for how you're proceeding. I just lost where I was in the fucking chat. Let me see. I'm scrolling. Harith Hag, what's the best NBME to do fresh out of Qbank? I've said NBME 20 for step 1, NBME 6 for 2CK. DA, CA, and you're a member of my channel because your name is green. Everyone else's is gray, and you've got a Mehlmanmedical icon next to you. You've been a member of my channel for a long fucking time, DACA. I think you're one of the longest members of my channel. I see the list of who's members of my channel and when they join and what level member they're at. I've seen your name for a long time, so I appreciate you being a long member of my channel. What do you think about taking step 2 before step 1? After third year clerkship? Or would you recommend taking, I just lost where I was in the chat. What the fuck? Okay. What do you think about taking step 2 before step 1 after third? No. I said in my prior live streams, never fucking take step 2 before step 1 ever. Never. And the reason for that is because you will 100% score higher on 2CK if you've taken it after step 1 in all circumstances. I don't give a fuck if you think you're fresher on like clinical material and you want to get 2CK out of the way. You will 100% score higher on 2CK when you get there if you've knocked step 1 out of the way first. Okay. And when you're in the middle of your actual 2CK, in the middle of the fucking test, it's going to become obvious to you as to why step 1 is sat first. Because all the concepts you learn for step 1, they're integrated into step 2, but they're like harder. Okay. Or they'll ask you like the next best step. Okay. In management. So it compounds. So you got to sit step 2 after. The other reason is that the whole fucking bulk of your competitiveness for your application is your 2CK score. So like, why would you ever, engage in a process where you're going to take step 2 before step 1 when you know that process is going to result in a lower score? It makes no fucking sense. Kevin C, recommend doing NBME 6 first to see where you're at before CMS forms for step 2. No, I don't. I've said I want you coming out of Qbank and you're going to do all the CMS forms, then 6 through 8, then double pass of all the CMS forms, then free 120, then 9 through 14. Sajal says, and the reason for that is because you're going to waste NBME 6 if you take it before the CMS forms. Why would, it's about changing, it's about does an action we perform change our management? So like if you take NBME 6, let's say hypothetically prior to the CMS forms, like whether you do shitty or well on it, you're still going to go on to the CMS forms anyway. So why would you, like, it doesn't change our management. So why would you sit it before the CMS forms when doing the CMS forms would absolutely increase your score on NBME 6? Wouldn't we want a higher score on NBME 6? So do the CMS forms first. Makes no fucking sense. Sejal Kadwani says, "Hi, Dr. Mike. My score breakdown is very bad for anatomy. My MSK is good, but when GI, renal, repro are poor, do you have any tips for correcting this?" I'm like confused. You just said your anatomy is bad, but your MSK is good. The point is, go through my PDFs. How's that? How's that for an answer? Okay, go through my PDFs. The MSK anatomy renal PDF I have is fucking excellent. Okay, it's really fucking good PDF. How to memorize. Module says how to memorize in PDFs. You're going to not make Anki. You're not going to annotate. You're just going to read, and you're going to have to like deal with potentially forgetting stuff. I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, that's what I want you to do. Like, I don't think you need to annotate. Just read. You don't need to make Anki. Students feeling like they don't remember things well enough, and in turn they are not able to just move on because you want to like read something 4 fucking times or make an Anki card or whatever. Like, that is the most common impediment to progress, as per my observation. Okay, so students frequently will not be able to make progress because they feel like they're not remembering things enough. You have to just read and move on. Champion, in UWorld, how many questions should you get right, which translates to a good NBME score in the exam score? I mean, what number of right questions would provide an assurance? I don't give a fuck what your scores are in UWorld. So I said this yesterday in the live stream. I said that whether you're getting 38% or whether you're getting 79% in UWorld, you're just going to move through the exam. I don't care. Move through the Qbank. I don't care what your block percentages are, because when we finish Qbank, that's when we're just going to have you sit the NVMEs, which are going to objectively tell us where you're sitting, right? So, you can get shitty scores in Qbank, but when you come out of Qbank and you take like, NBMEs 2021 for step 1 or NBMEs 6, 7, or you do the CMS forms, and let's say you feel like you're doing shitty on the CMS forms, you do NBMEs 6 and 7 for 2CK and you do well, that's all that matters. I don't give a fuck what you're getting in percentage-wise in actual Qbank. The only time I actually ask a student sometimes what they're getting in Qbank is if they haven't sat any recent NVMEs. If you come to me trying to develop a plan for you, and I'm like, "Have you sat any NVMEs?" And you're like, "No." I'm like, "Have you been doing Qbank recently?" And you're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, what are your percentages?" That helps me kind of gauge like where you might be sitting. 60s plus, that's good. 50s, borderline. Okay. 50s generally not where we want. Okay. High 50s, borderline. Low 50s, not passing for sure. 40s, we have a long way to go. Okay. I've had students occasionally getting like 20s percent correct in Qbank. It's like as good as guessing. I've had that happen. Okay, I've seen everything. So, Jay Moore, how long to prep for 2CK? I've said about 4 months. You said you're working as a full-time junior doctor, rotating in the United Kingdom. So you can probably commit to about 2 hours per day, plus 10-day dedicated. Reasonable or delusional? I'd say mostly delusional, in the sense that you can, of course, get the 2CK out of the way, Jay Moore. Like, you can pass 2CK, but you're going to not get the highest score that you can get, right? I mean, prepping for USMLE is a full-time job. So, you'll get your 239 or whatever the fuck it is. But okay, if you were studying full-time for the USMLE instead, then you get like, 260. But at the same time, if you're working as a junior doctor, maybe you also have that advantage of clinical knowledge above medical student level, where, that'll cancel out. Like, student takes it at the end of 3rd year with no clinical knowledge, right? But they studied more for 2CK. You're taking it as a fucking junior doctor, not studying as much for CK, but that kind of cancels out because you have more actual clinical, like real clinical experience. So don't let me tell you you're delusional, but I mean, it's delusional, the notion of getting a high score. You gotta really like put in time to study. Taj Sidhu, do you know Japanese? I've said I know, like, I'm street fluent in Japanese. I'm not a fucking banker. Okay, like, I went through an immersion school here for a couple of years. That was like 5 years ago. PHB proxy. decreased pulmonary capillary wedge pressure, increased right atrial pressure, history of untreated urinary tract infection, history of treated urinary tract infection, decreased. What the fuck are you asking me right now? Decreased pulse rate? I don't know what you're asking me. Old man diagnosis? Um, I don't know what you're asking me right now. You gotta write that more clearly too. It sounds like you're trying to get like a chat GPT. Like, you can't write things like an ESL. Like, you can't write things like an ESL. You gotta like put things more like organized for me. Is high yield USMLE review 1 to 4 good for step 1? Yeah, you can do it. I said it's based off of the internal medicine CMS forms, but you can do those. Guys, if you're joining the chat here, why don't you give the live stream a like, and that'll boost the algorithm. Bring more people here. Arseny says, hello again. Should we do the CMS forms the same way as URL? That is tutor mode style, or should I just go through? No. I don't want you to do tutor mode. I want you to do the CMS forms, all 50 questions in a row, and then review all of them at the end. Okay. You don't have to time yourself for the CMS forms, but I want you doing all 50 questions in a row and then reviewing them at the end. Let's see. Arseny says, lost where I was in chat. Let me see. Arseny says, and is there any particular order that the CMS forms should be done? No, there's no particular order. In fact, I want you to do random order. In other words, I don't want it to be where you do like all the obs-gyn at once, and then you do all the peds, and then I don't want you to do subject specific. Like, mix it up. It prevents burnout. So do like OBGYN 1, and then like psych 1, surgery 3, and then like peds 3. Okay. Like, mix it up in terms of subjects. Let's see. Varun Sunil. Can I match in neurosurgery? What should I do? Like, sort of checklist for super competitive specialty. Get a high 2CK score. I mean, that's what you need to do, right? So get a high 2CK score. Otherwise, there's no chance. Austin Zahid, hello, Mike. Not doing well in UWorld and micro biochem farm. Any tips and tricks for these? I've said my high yield dermatology PDF is loaded with micro high yield derm. I've also said that my YouTube playlists, not just the micro MCQ playlist where they're like 3 to 5 minute clips, my MCQs, right? But also I've got PowerPoints, like 45-minute PowerPoints. Holy shit, for micro on my YouTube. Some of you probably didn't know that. If you go into my playlist, there's literally PowerPoint presentations that are like 45 minutes long on just micro. Okay, so you can do that. Biochem, obviously my biochem PDF, my biochem playlist farm. I've got free modules on my website. Same with biochem. I got modules as well. So those are free. Obviously, I've paid Anki for biochem and farm, but in terms of free resources, biochem modules, farm modules, and the PDF for biochem, fucking excellent. Kushil Giri. Hello, Dr. Mike. I find NBME easy and have been scoring 70, 75, but find UWSA and UW tougher. Exam in 16 days. 70, 75 is good for NBMEs, right? So fine. I want the 3-digit score conversions nevertheless, but those are solid scores. Anything above 70 is like solid. Assad, hey Mike, I passed step 1 and I'm so thankful to you for your content guidance. I want to take step 2 before end of September. What do you suggest? Before end of September. Well, you need to get through the CMS forms twice. That's going to be about 7 weeks. You got to get through NBMEs 6 through 14. So yeah, you got to do, I would sit down with you to like calculate a day-by-day schedule, but I want you to, as I just fucking said, you're going to do 2 passes of all the CMS forms, and you're going to do NBMEs 6 through 8, free 120, then 9 through 14. I want you to do all that content. Assad, would you recommend Ankiing the UWorld educational objectives? No. I know you want us to Anki the NVME corrects, but wouldn't that help with getting the NVME questions correct? Love you, Doc. I said no. I don't want you doing Anki from UWorld or queuing. Ollie Hater, Sir, which resource will you prefer for pathology? Like, cuck fucking question here. Do you prefer Pathoma, Golion, Robbins? Like, please. Robbins, like, I mean, like, no relation to USMLE. Golion, obsolete. Pathoma, cuck. I mean, I talked about this in my prior live streams already. My notes are loaded with pathology. Okay, like people constantly fucking ask me, like, when are you making a pathology PDF? It's like, okay, I have an idea. Why don't you look at my fucking PDFs? Go through, look at renal or something. Guess what? It's loaded with pathology. It's a shitload of pathology in there. Look at hematology. Okay, there's a lot of pathology in there. Look at cardio. It's all pathology. Okay, so that's what you should look at for pathology. The notion of like histopath. Like I have histo in my PDFs. So I have slides that are relevant. Abdul Aram Arfari, Afai, can't fucking read your name. Took NBME 10 for CK and got 218. Of course, 214's passed. Then took one at Prometric Center as required by my school and got a 201. What should I do? Well, you failed. So we need to postpone for sure. I would need to know more about your situation. Lost Roy was in the chat. Kavish, hey Mike, last two NVMEs 28, 29. I scored 60 and 61%. Okay, that's too low. Those are fails. 16 days left for the exam. What should I do? Just to be sure, I want you to convert those to 3-digit score conversions. I've said type in Google Images, NVMe 28 score conversion Reddit, NVMe 29 score conversion Reddit. You're going to type in your number of incorrect. You're going to see a graph with best fit line. You're going to type in your number of incorrects into that equation. You're going to get your 3-digit score. I want to see 205 to 210 plus for you to sit. 197 internal pass mark for step 1. So 1661, I believe those are fails. So you would be postponing. If you're one of my students, I'd pull you out and I'd say you're not taking the exam for like another 6 weeks or so. And you'd be really pissed off. And I'd say, well, you know, you're fucking paying me to like get you to through the fucking exam. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to postpone your exam. It's unacceptable to have fails go on the latest NVMEs 16 days before. I mean, like, you're not ready to sit. I don't want you sitting. Some people say, fuck you, Mike, I'm going to sit. I say, okay, YOLO, don't listen to me. Like, okay, fine. You know, it's like having one of the analogies I use is like having your ACL repaired. It's like you get your ACL repaired, you're walking in like 2-3 weeks and you're like, I feel good. There's no pain. Like, wow, I feel good. And you got a football, a game coming up. The doctor says, I don't think you should walk for 6 to 8 weeks. You're going to like re-injure, or I don't think you should play for 6 to 8 weeks. And, you want to fucking play. That's kind of what it is. It's like, you could, but you're fucking risking it. You strain that shit at all, you're going to have like a problem. So I don't want you YOLOing. I don't like people YOLOing where you're going to get like, you're going to take a fail in the final 2 weeks on NVME. You're going to go into the real deal. I don't like that. Yorgos A says, failed a few shelf exams, have a 3-month remediation period for them, and then writing step after. How do I go about studying for the failed shelf exams and step 2 simultaneously? Well, I mean, this content you're studying for your shelves is the step 2 content, right? So you will, by nature, by definition, by studying for your shelves, you will be studying for step 2, just in a subject-specific format. That's totally fine. That's what you're gonna have to do. Like the thing when you fail a shelf exam in school, right? Like then it becomes a danger zone of you got to stay in fucking school now. Like if it becomes a situation where if you fail a shelf again, you're in danger of actually getting like, kicked out of school type of thing. Then we have to just say, look, you got to focus hardcore on the shelf material right now. That's what we're going to do. So whether it's peds, whatever it is, we focus on that, and it's still simultaneously going through step 2 prep. Sean Jayesh says, why do you not like UWorld, Pathoma, and first aid? When have I ever fucking said that, Sean Jayesh? Have I not, do I not mention Pathoma every other fucking question here? When people who do those do well, and some people, okay, this is a good question actually. So Sean's asking, why do I say I don't like Pathoma and first aid, which isn't true, by the way. I'm agnostic as to which resources. When people who do these do well, the analogy we can use is like, you know, some people are just good test takers. Okay. It's like asking a fucking like jack dude at the gym who has like giant calves, like what protein he takes. And it's like, it's fucking genetics. Okay. It's not his fucking protein. So occasionally you encounter people where it's like they get their 259 and you're like, well, what did you do? And they're like, well, I went through like, first aid and Pathoma and like, half a UWorld or something. It's like, okay, well, they're just good test takers because if they actually like, you know, did a Qbank and then they memorize NBMEs 20 through 31 as I talked about. They go through my PDFs, they go through all my YouTube MCQs. Rather than a 259, they'd have a 279. Okay. So this is why the averages are creeping up with time. It's because people are like doing more and more questions. And, you know, people will do my resources, more in the future, and the averages will continue to go up. So the short version of that answer is you get people who are good test takers who don't prep well, but they still perform well. And then that can be erroneously interpreted by other people as ideal preparatory methods, when in fact, the student's just a good test taker, as I said. It's not the preparatory methods. So, Nick, hey, Michael, 60% correct, NVMe 31. It's a fail. Taking free 120 in a couple of days, step in less than 2 weeks. Nah, already postponed. Can't postpone again without postponing graduation. Did highlight arrows and go into review. Well, what you're going to do, Nick, is you're going to sit other NBMEs. I'm going to have you sit like whichever ones you haven't done, okay? Because you didn't tell me which ones you've done already. But let's say you haven't done the offline ones, okay? Like maybe you did 25, 31, but let's say you haven't done like 23, 24. I want you to sit 20, 21, 22. I want you to go through the NBMEs right now. And if you're failing these NBMEs, you're simply not ready to sit, okay? When we have a very like, tight situation like that where the student says no, but really like I really don't want to move it. Okay, like I'm moving countries. I'm flying from India to fucking United States in like 2 weeks. I have to sit in 10 days. Okay, when there's like a major thing, like I have to, if I don't sit, I'm gonna delay my graduation. Okay, when it's some like very like monumental type of postponement like that, like I will generally go nuclear. Have the student like just sit through various NBMEs, and then we can sort out. You're just going to have to sit like 3, 4 NBMEs, then get your scores. And if you're failing those, then we're not ready to sit. If you get decent scores, we can decide whether you're going to YOLO. If you get, like I've said already, 205, 210 plus is what I want to see. If you get like equivalent of like 202, 201, I'll tell you that straight up. I'll be like, you're fucking YOLOing. I don't want you to sit. I know you want to sit because your graduation. It's a discharge against medical advice, and then you have to make that decision. And you're like, well, Michael, you make that decision. I said, well, I just fucking said I don't want you sitting. Okay, so I want people getting 205, 210 plus equivalent on their NBMEs before they sit. Straight up. Okay, like I don't. That's just what it is. It's like it's just what it is. It's like somebody having like high lipids, and you're the doctor, and you're like, well, we got to start statins. We got to start a statin. And the patient is like, I don't want to start a statin. I want to do more lifestyle modification. You're like, well, you're over the thresholds for starting statins. I recommend we start, but so it's a discharge against medical advice type of thing, but ultimately it's in your control. You have that autonomy. Rajav says, what's the bare minimum score in NBME world self-assessment that is required to proceed with step 1? I mean, I've already said 205, 210 plus equivalent. Rajav. Sarish says, what's the minimum dedicated time period for step 2 CK? By the way, guys, today really is only going to be an hour for this live chat. I normally go like fucking like 2.5, 3 hours. It's because it's 3:20 a.m. and I want to go to the gym after this. I wasn't going to do this live stream at all, but I decided I'll do like an actual quick hour. But I gotta go to the fucking gym after this. There's a 24-hour gym, like a 1-minute skateboard from where I am. And that's what I'm going to do. So rather than answering questions for like 2 hours or 3 hours, I'm going to go to the gym. That's what I'm going to do. So you can say, Mike, that's not like, you're an asshole. Really? I'm answering your fucking dumb questions right now. Okay. Let me answer the same dumb questions, right? Let's see. Aditya, barely passed step 1. How to make sure I get a good score for 2CK. I already said, go through. I'm just going to kind of select some questions now. Genesis. Hey, Melman, I take my step 1 on August 5th. Do you think I should focus only on studying, memorizing NBMEs and high-yield arrows? August 5th. If your exam's August 5th, then literally from July 1st onward, I want you doing all the NVMEs. That's like perfect, isn't it, guys? For those of you who've like heard me talk about the month and 4 days-ish prep, I want you basically from from July 1st, Genesis, you're going to start all the NVME exams. That's what you're going to do, including Free 120. And yeah, obviously go through my high-yield arrows. I said you don't need first aid. Something against first aid. It's just first aid superfluous. It's no longer a numerical exam. It's a pass-fail exam. So first aid was, yes, good for decades when we had a numerical exam. We don't have a numerical exam anymore. So you have to read, 50 fucking factoids to like learn one. That's going to show up in your exam. Bimbo. Hey, sir, recently in India. Like, what is this question? I don't know what that is. A girl was born with 4 legs, 4 hands, 2 hearts. So what do you think? She will live longer other ways? Bimbo, what is that question? That's so funny. Dark. There's like, you can't have a live stream without one of these questions. This is like how the simulation works. It's always like this. Dark Swide Dasami. Why does this guy look like an anime character? I feel like I'm watching a medicine anime, right? You get the appearance comments. That's always a good one. It depends whether you've been in my live streams or not. There's going to be some of you who haven't been in my live streams before. Others, you'll have been here before. What I've talked about is that you have to be able to handle people talking shit and, saying derogatory things about you, your appearance. You have to be able to handle that if you want to grow an influence. And you can't you got to have a thick skin and backbone when you get comments like that. Yeah. My gene has his comments too. It's okay. No, I'm okay addressing comments like that. It's all right. It's all right, guys. I'm okay answering your comments. I'm just looking at it. I said I was only doing an hour today. Let's see. Is FA Sachi? Is Step FA 2CK book helpful? Also, what are your thoughts about the book Step Up to Medicine? I've said that 2CK for FA is not good. Okay. And I've said the reason is because they've had no incentive over the years to make it a good book, because since everyone fucking used step 1 first aid, by default, when you go to step 2, of course, you're going to buy 2CKFA. That's like the default, right? So they were never incentivized to improve the book because everyone just bought it anyway. It's a mediocre book. And just for the record, I mean, a decade ago, I used it. I made flashcards from it. It was a waste of time. Also, what are your thoughts about Step Up to Medicine? Potential energy rather than kinetic energy. In other words, it feels good to like learn stuff, right? It feels good. Like you'll like it. You'll be like, oh, good, I'm learning medicine. Okay, cool. But where's the score augmentation? Like, are your scores actually going up? Not really. You need to go through questions. That's the bulk of your, I want you to realize something, guys. If you're doing like 4,000 questions in Qbank, and let's say every question is 3/4 of a page of an explanation, well, that's 3,000 pages of textbook you're reading, right? So whether it's digital, it's on a screen, or whether it's, hard copy in front of you, that's your textbook. So let Qbank, the 3,000 pages you're going to read in Qbank, that's your textbook. Okay. You don't have to have an external textbook. Now people say, well, Michael, what do you mean? You have your PDFs. Yeah, I know. I mean, my PDFs are it's standard. Like my PDFs are based on the NBME exams. They're going to boost you. But when people ask about what textbook, do I need to buy a book of some kind? The answer is no. Okay. So it's just going to be Qbank. It's going to be my YouTube MCQs. It's going to be all the NBME content. And then my PDFs are just consolidated notes around the high yield aspects of the NBME exams. I said I was only doing an hour. I said it's 3:26 a.m. going to the gym right now. That's what I'm going to do. I need to go to the gym. My Gene says, LMAO, laugh my ass off. This guy is hilarious. It sounds Like he fucking hates answering questions, but gets paid to. You think I'm fucking getting paid right now? I'm not getting paid right now. No one's fucking left a super chat. I'm not entitled. I'm not asking. I don't need your $5. I'm not asking for your fucking thing. But if I hated this, I wouldn't actually be doing it right now, right? So that's kind of like an interesting thing. I hate answering the same dumb questions. But yeah, that's like, it's in my control. I could have just not done this stream. Let's see. Is a clinical rotation in the US necessary for getting a match? Well, obviously it's going to help, right? I wouldn't say mandatory, but it's mainly your 2CK score. And if you want to rotate at a specific institution, obviously that'll help you get in there. Your aim should be like to rotate at a place you want to go to, that actual institution. Don't fucking rotate at Harvard if your scores are shit. Okay. Like, no one's going to be impressed. Like, if you are capable of getting a 279, then like rotate at MGH, make fucking inroads there, and then you apply. They know you and they'll see your 279 and they'll be like, okay. But if you're going to get like a 230, if that's where you feel like you're going to hit, rotate at like, an institution that's like, not out of your reach necessarily. And you can have a shot at getting in there. That's what you want to do. Universe Boss says, ignore the haters, Mike. I don't give a fuck. Like, I'm great. I've already said numerous times, like, people can make their comments. Like, it doesn't affect me. Let's see. Yeah, I said I was only doing an hour. Like, I know, like, my other live streams, I've done like 2-3 hours, right? But this was just going to be a quick hour. Like, I wasn't going to do a live stream. But it's 3:30 a.m. here, as I said, and I'm going to go to my 24-hour gym right now. I gotta do that. So it's just very short live stream here. So guys, obviously I'm going to do more of these, right? I appreciate you stopping in. All right. And I'll catch you guys later. Okay. So appreciate you guys.